What up? Harry Mack. I'm here with the Pocket Queen. We're about to do a freestyle off the top of the dome. Do you want to give me some words?
Octopus.
Octopus.
Idiosyncrasy.
Woo! Idiosyncrasy.
Gel.
Yeah, yeah. Come on. Yeah, yeah. Come on. Yeah, yeah, yeah. H-Mack can rock the scene. Locking in with the Pocket Queen. Once I get started off the top of the brain with the lyrics, ain't no stopping me. I be making everybody panic, cause my freestyle's harder than granite. I go deep like an octopus, I said, my freestyle oceanic. Yeah, H-Mack, kill it off in the dome when I'm spitting these flames. Matter of fact, I got rare intelligence, I probably got an octopus brain. I be going in deep every time that we spit it off the metal, they be loving us. And I draw the positive vibes in closer, octopus suction cup. Yeah, y'all know we about to make the link. I don't ever write it, I just spit what I think. Every time I'm rapping, I'ma push it to the brink. We've been making MCs sing, yeah. When they be talking about some of the illest, off at the top they go think of me. Probably because of the training and how I locked in my idiosyncrasy. I push it to the brink with these, yo, the Mac ain't stopping. Idiosyncratic, every time I plug into the system rocking. Y'all know I'ma wreck them bars. Off the top, yo, I'm wrecking hard. Matter of fact, I got that MIC plugged into the XLR. Y'all know what happens as a habit, it's automatic. Idiosyncratic, every time I spit, man, the track, I'm a savage. Shining so bright, would've thought I was backlit. Back at it, yeah, Pocket Queen holding down that groove. On the scene, I be making y'all move. Spitting something clean and we here to improve. We going deeper whenever I'm on it. Y'all know that the mechanism's about to excel. Ayy, push to the top of the chart. Ayy, that's what we ready to dwell. Ayy, y'all know I'm speaking my truth. Ayy, my own story I tell. Ayy, crazy how the lyrics right to the instrumental about to gel. Yeah, I get it poppin'. All these lyrics flying up out of my face. Ayy, something like gel that you use in your hair. I hold it all in one place. Yeah, bring the game to a standstill. Heavy as an anvil. Every time I rhyme, I'll be lit like a candle. H-Mack, I'll be crushing. Drop it on top your toes and sandals. We fill 'em with pain. Spill up the brain, kicking them flames. Doing it different, I stay in my lane. Other MCs, they just couldn't maintain. Yeah, y'all know we be making people move. H-Mack off the top of the dome and Pocket Queen up on the groove. Let's go.
That was sick.
That was Let's go. Fire. Fire. Killing it.
So
dope. Should we try one more?
This is for my flow state. Addict. Yeah. Y'all know we back at it. Ain't it crazy how the mind works magic? We gon' show you the method behind the madness. Cause this is
What's going on, y'all? Before we dive in, I wanted to let you all know this episode of Flow State is sponsored by Ricola. You all know I'm a big fan of Ricola Throat Balm. This is a great product. It's not for when you're sick. Okay, you might associate Ricola with going to the pharmacy when you have a terrible cold or flu and your throat's really messed up. This is not that. This is for daily throat care, okay? Daily maintenance. For those of you who have a general sense of dryness in your throat, maybe you find yourself constantly clearing your throat. You're doing this all day long. You don't know after a while if it's a real physical need or just something you're inventing in your mind, some kind of physiological trap that you're falling into. Fear not, okay? Ricola Throat Balm is here to save you from these daily throat irritants. And obviously for me as a rapper and a podcaster and somebody who uses their voice every day for their career, I got to take my vocals very, very seriously. All right. I'm very focused on vocal health. And so I keep Ricola Throat Balm close at hand when I'm on tour, when I'm doing extended live streams, when I'm doing my podcast. It's a great little remedy you can reach for in times of need to help you with those moments throughout your day. All right. So make sure you check it out. The link is in the description. And thank you once again to Ricola for sponsoring this episode of Flow State. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Flow State with yours truly, Harry Mack. Super excited for my guest today. This is somebody who is an incredible drummer who more than likely has appeared on your social media feeds at one point or another. She has millions of views across social media. She has also shared the stage with a slew of legends from Beyonce to Stevie Wonder, Robert Glasper, Harry Styles, Willow Smith. I'm just scratching the surface. She also has built a super powerful brand and a super identifiable brand online, and she's done it on her own terms, which is really, really inspiring for me. And these days, she is making big moves, not just as a drummer, but also as a producer, songwriter, and all-around artist in her own right. So super excited to have her here. Please welcome the Pocket Queen.
Oh, that was good.
Oh, thank you.
Tear.
Yes. Well, it's all true. It's all true. And we're super excited to have you here. Thanks for making the time.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So For, my audience and people who may be less familiar with you and what you do, I kind of wanted to go back to the beginning and find out from you maybe how old you were when you started playing the drums and how the drums and music in general sort of came into your world.
I was 3 years
Wow.
old when I started playing the drums. There's recordings of me directing my parents and my sisters as we would like sing songs together. And I would tell my sister what was her harmony and my dad what was his harmony. And I would play the air drums and play with straws and make all the mouth noises and everything like that. And I think from there they noticed my real love for it and decided to nurture it and got me my first drum kit. So
Amazing. How old were you when you got the kit?
I think it was still around like 3.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. So it was like a little kid kit or something?
Yeah, I don't even remember the brand of it. It was like I want to say it's Fisher Price because that's easiest to say, but it was some sort of brand that I got from a drum store, and it was just for kids.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What were do you remember what like your first performance opportunities were like? Were you actually playing in front of other people?
My first performance opportunity was church. And I still, as much as how long ago that was, I still remember like it was yesterday, like how nervous I was because my parents were always egging me on to play. I would always try to keep it low key. Even now, I feel like I still remain this sort of like low key person that's just like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But I remember I was sitting in church and the drummer didn't show up. That like typical story,
Yes.
like, oh, guy's running late, guy's not there. And so I'm sitting up there with my polka dotted dress on and my ruffled socks. And my parents are like, go play the drums. And I'm like, no, like, I don't want to. So I go up there and I start playing. And then to everyone's amazement, of course, they see like a little girl on the drums. And so it made everyone like turn around and be like, oh. And so I think that was like the real beginning for me of like facing that fear of playing in front of people.
Well, you did much better than me because my first instrument was the violin, and my first public performance was my violin recital when I was 7 years old, and I didn't get up on stage and play. I just cried the whole time from the audience. So you actually got up there, and from this story, I don't think you cried. So
No,
yeah,
I didn't cry. Maybe on the inside. I was
Okay.
crying.
That's fair.
But yeah,
That's fair.
That was where that laid the foundation for me learning how to play and learning how to play with people. Because even in that church, it was just an organist. There was no bass player or anything like that. But this guy was a bad dude. His name was Craig. Not remembering his last name.
Shout out to
so
Craig.
Sorry. Craig.
Shout out to Craig, though.
But yes, Craig was on the organ and he was really dope. And I think even at that age, my main concern was to try and lock in so good with him, or try to compliment everything that he was doing.
Yeah.
Or have them, that moment where they look back at you because they're like, you caught it. I wanted them to do that like the whole time. I'm like, I'm catching everything. I'm going to
Yes.
catch everything.
Hell yeah.
So,
That's dope. What kind of music were you hearing at that time, like around the house, or like what were some of your early musical influences?
of course, gospel. There was Daryl Coley, the Winans, all of those people that my parents raised me on. But then also my dad is like a alternative rocker. Like he has like a rock side of him. So he grew me up on the Doobie Brothers and Steely Dan and who else? Toto, all types of people. Even now, he's like sending me old cuts that I never heard of. The Allman Brothers, all of that stuff. So it was like I got a real diverse palette of music, along with like Earth, Wind, and Fire and all of the funk stuff,
Mm-hmm.
So it was all groove-based music. Like all of it was just like strong and like keeping time.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, I also got a lot of music through my dad, who he was really into jazz. So he was into like Miles and Coltrane and like 50s, 60s era jazz records. So he was always sharing that stuff with me. And we still kind of connect over jazz, me and my dad. So that's
I
cool.
see.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite, or who? Like which jazz artist?
He was like most into Miles, so he was always sharing those recordings with me. But he was also into Thelonious Monk. He was really into Sun Ra. But yeah, the first tracks I played along with was Philly Joe Jones on drums. So he's kind of like I am a drummer as well, but my background is playing like straight ahead jazz stuff. So I was really into like Philly Joe and Elvin Jones and Art Blakey and those cats.
So you were chopping like at
yeah,
that point.
Trying to. Yeah.
I had no idea about all of that stuff until I went to college.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And you studied at Berkeley, right?
Yeah.
Nice. I was going to ask you about that because, you know, obviously now you've gone viral with your videos a bunch of times and you have millions of views, but you were actually making videos for the internet way back then at Berkeley with your Road to Chop series.
The Road to Chop series. Oh man. Yeah, that series was really birthed out of an insecurity that I had of like not really being this flashy drummer or like having a bunch of chops. I entered the school. This is a prestigious school where a lot of prodigies are. And I'm the small town girl, and the most experience I had at the time was church, you know? So I felt like I was out of my element. And I felt like for a second I was like, oh, I need to go away and practice. Like keywords go away, you know? And I was like, or I can like let people in on the fact that I don't know how to do this. Like there's so many people that don't know how to do it, don't understand it. And maybe we can all like learn together. And so I was always like very fascinated, starting with high school, with the internet and like how it made everything so accessible and at your fingertips. Like, of course it's like on steroids now, but even with like MySpace and all of these things, I was like looking at it and seeing how I could utilize it. And so with me being like somewhat of a shy person and an introvert, it was like the perfect way for me to still be social and like connect with people around campus. And so I wasn't even really expecting it to like be that popular. I just wanted to do it on my Facebook page and put it up there. But it turned out to be something that people really enjoyed. And so I noticed, like, even on campus, like, after posting the first few videos, that people would, like, stop me and be like, hey, I saw that, like, Road to Chop Stand, that was really sick. I'm like, thanks. Oh, like, this is actually having an impact. You know, I'm like, something I'm doing is actually, like, helping people and inspiring people. So, yeah, that was my first go-around with social media. And back then I didn't go viral. It was just like 10,000 views was a good day, you know, like that was like, that's sick, 10,000 views. So at that point, I'm going to stop talking now.
No, not at all. It's awesome. No, what I love about it though is the fact that you wanted to share the process, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm big on that. And I think it's such a helpful paradigm shift for us as artists and musicians and creators, because sometimes we can get in our own way. I know just speaking for myself, like I fall into perfectionism and it's like, I don't ever want to finish anything. I don't want to share things. You know, I was stuck in that sort of space for such a long time. And I think sort of shifting the paradigm away from being an artist, which of course we are, rather than showing the end result, it was like, maybe I can just document my process as I learn and grow and get better, you know? And I think that sort of vulnerability of being like, hey, I don't necessarily know how to do this part of what I'm trying to learn, but I'm going to bring you all in and show you kind of me connecting the dots as I go on that journey. And I feel like that's a big part of why those videos connected with so many people on campus, I would imagine, is because, all young musicians are feeling that way, right? Like we all have big gaps in our knowledge and things that we're trying to fill in and learn.
Yeah.
But then you have that thing where everyone's trying to practice in secret, you know, or everyone's trying to only practice the stuff they're already good at because they're thinking about people outside the wall listening to them. And they're like, oh, well, I better sound like I'm really great.
And that's the other thing about me, honestly. It was like a self-accountability thing for me, because I don't really like to practice for that reason. Yeah. It's just like such a blow to my ego to just like sit up there for like hours and hours and just sound like crap. You know, I'm like, this is crazy. I'm leaving, you know? So I'm still that way. But it was like a way for me to challenge myself to work through it. And I ended up inspiring myself a couple of times, like even, you know, in later years with Instagram and everything, because still the same story of me challenging myself and watching take by take, little by little, it getting better and better every time, you know? And so it became this like very fun thing.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. So making it as musicians is not easy. And I think a lot of us have to navigate through the ups and downs of that. I was really inspired by one of the vlogs you had on your YouTube, learning about your journey kind of when you first came down to LA and some of the trials and tribulations that you had to endure in order to get to the point you're at now. Could you talk to us a little bit maybe about like what your initial goal was coming here to Los Angeles and just a little bit about some of the ups and downs that you had to endure when you got here?
Opening up, unpacking, drama.
Yeah, sorry.
Here's my heart. Okay. Even back then, like when I went to Berkeley, I always, drums were just something that always came natural to me. But even my goal entering Berkeley was to learn about music production. That was why I found it worth it to go to the school and get a laptop and learn what Logic Pro was and all of these different things. And I found what worked for me, and it was the drums, right? Like the Road to Trap series. But then in the back of my mind, I was like, but I came here for music production. So I started, even at that point, if you go back in my YouTube, I still haven't erased one singular video from that period. You can see where I'm doing remixes of popular songs. So that way it's like, okay, how do I get them to realize that I'm not just a drummer? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I started doing those remixes. And they did semi-well. They did not take off or anything like that. I even went all out and did like a full music video for one of them. And then after graduation, I decided to just go for the whole production dream, the music production dream. And that's what drove me to LA. Because even afterwards, I found some gigs in Boston that were sustaining me. And I was like, I could just live here.
Right.
But, I'm so thankful for my parents because they reminded me like that was my dream, why I went to the school, and not to get stuck in what was my comfort zone. So I moved to LA in pursuit of being a music producer. While in college, I studied all of the greats, all of the people at the time. At the time, it was Max Martin and Dr. Luke, all of those people. And I did sound likes and all of that stuff, and I was on a journey to try and be in that seat. So I moved to LA without a drum set because my plan wasn't to play the drums.
Wow.
Like I was like, I'm not playing drums. I'm going to be a music producer. I had very little money. I moved into a one-bedroom apartment with 5 different women, and I was sleeping on a bunk bed. And I printed out resumes. I feel old when I say that.
Right.
I printed out resumes and I went to all of the major studios in Los Angeles. And I was in Hollywood. So Capitol Records was right down the street. So I walk in, and at the time I'm just like bold. Of course I'm nervous, but I'm still like, okay, I'm going to go in and hand the guy at the front my resume.
Yeah.
Which at the time had no production on it. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't even care. I was just like, hey, I just wanted to like turn my resume, and then I left. Went down the street to I don't know what it is now. It used to be Brandon's Way, and then it used to be Atlantic, but I think now Diane Warren owns the building. But I went there and it was Atlantic, and I did the exact same thing. I went to BMG, did the exact same thing, and then I also, at the time, I was a bit of a creeper. So I went online, like I used Instagram in that way and Facebook and MySpace to really look up executives and look up different producers. Like I wasn't really trying to connect with the artists. I was like, who produced this record? Do they need an intern?
Yeah.
And that was my hustle. Like I was really like in that sort of hustle mode. And then I happened to get the contact of an executive over at Artist Publishing Group, they were like a pretty, they still are. No offense. They still are like a pretty prominent publishing company. They have a lot of hits under their belt. And I thought it would be the perfect breeding ground for me to understand songs and records. And I got a hold of the president's email. I wrote him an email. I sent him some tracks. Lo and behold, I got a response. I sent some more tracks, and I would just do this sort of status update like every month of like different tracks that I was doing until finally, probably like 6 months later, he calls me into his office and he offers me a publishing deal.
Wow.
And to me, that was like, I did it. Like
Yeah.
I actually ended up where I wanted to be. And I was, of course, you know, there were people who were like trying to get me to consider like all of the things as far as what the signing this deal meant for my masters and my publishing. But, you know, I was young. I was like, you know, I'll figure it out. You know, we all get screwed once, you know, this is my turn to get screwed.
Right.
So I signed a deal, start making tracks and start having very big sessions right out the gate. Like I'm working with Trey Songz and Chris Brown and there was one song that was slated to be in Fast and the Furious, right?
Wow.
And this was all in like the first 6 months of me being a part of this company. And I'm like, holy crap, it's happening. It's happening. It's happening. Until one day, well, I'm leaving out something. I was having sessions and it was still kind of like known that I was a drummer, you know, like somehow that made its way to LA into this music scene. And they were like, hey, aren't you that drummer from YouTube that used to do Road to Chops? And I was like, yeah, that was in the past. Like, I don't do that anymore. Like, I'm a music producer now, you know?
Yeah.
And they were like, you should still do that. Like, you should still, like, make those videos when you have a chance. And I was like, okay. And I was, like, rolling my eyes, like, okay, yeah, sure. Anyway, verse, chorus, you know, try to do the thing. There was one day after, you know, realizing that I had so many things in the pipeline, I thought I should probably go to Best Buy and back up my hard drive, you know? So I go get a hard drive, I think it was like a solid state hard drive. I'm on the phone with my friend. Actually, I think it was my ex-boyfriend, actually. I was on the phone with him, talking to him while doing this. This is such an embarrassing story. So
No, you're good. This is
no, like I had both of them plugged in at the same time.
right.
And they kind of looked identical. You know how they sometimes have this like thing.
Yes.
And so the thing is you have to erase one in order to put new material on it. So
Right.
I think I was like on the phone. I was like, yeah, blah, 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 blah. And so I think I wasn't even focusing and I pressed erase. And then there was a moment where my heart skipped a beat because I was like, did I just erase the wrong drive? And I was like, hold on. I was just put the phone down. I was like, hold on.
Yeah.
And I'm looking and I'm just like praying, like, I hope that this is not my reality right now. I hope this is not real.
Yeah.
It was real. And so all I did was like, I picked up the phone. I was like, I think I just lost all of my music. I think it's all gone. And he was like, oh no, like, what can you do? And he's trying to help me troubleshoot. But at this point, I'm just like so shocked and defeated because literally, I think it was that week, I had a session with this duo back like 10 years ago. There was this duo, Nico and Vinz, right? They had the song, Am I Wrong? Thinking that we could be something for you. I had a session with them because they heard a track and loved it and wanted to record to it. And so all of that is like going through my mind of like, what am I going to tell? What am I going to tell everybody that happened? Like that I lost all the music, you know? And I ended up having that session. And I remember being in such a dark place. Like I was just wearing sunglasses. And I showed up to the session and they were like, I guess I press play on all of the songs. Because usually when you're in a session, they want to hear your whole catalog.
Right.
So all of the catalog I was playing was like a morning process of me like listening to everything and them going, oh, that's so sick. Do you have that one? And I'm like, no, it's gone.
Oh my God. Yeah. Heartbreaking.
Yes, it was crazy. It was a very big blow.
Yeah.
Huge, humongo blow.
Yeah.
And so went through that. Thankfully, there were some songs like the Chris Brown joint where there was one night that Chris Brown recorded to one of my tracks. And I woke up at like 2 a.m. to go to the record plant to meet him.
Yeah.
That was still safe. But then that ended up like getting leaked.
Okay.
And so it's kind of like good and bad.
Right.
Because it's like, okay, wait, how? I remember when I heard it was leaked, I was somewhat happy. But then I was somewhat like, how did this happen to me? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, I'm with the publishing company. This is not like I'm not with some sort of like label that's supposed to be helping this type of stuff not happen.
Right.
So that was weird. The
Yeah.
Fast and the Furious thing ended up not happening, partially because the track was gone.
Right.
So for a second after that, I was already feeling down. And then I was feeling like I was gambling at this point because it was like 6 months down the line. My advance was almost up or gone.
Right.
I'm paying out of pocket for sessions every day. So I'm losing money every day.
Yeah.
Hoping that someone likes me, hoping that someone likes my music. And I'm just like, how long am I going to do this? Like, how long am I going to tell people that something's coming out and hoping that it comes out? And so I just decided to Homer Simpson into a bush and just not come out. Like, I just decided to stop responding to the emails and everything as far as the who's looking list and everything. And there was a good point where I just stopped making music.
Wow.
I just stopped making music from like 2015 to about 2017.
Yeah. Wow. It's so heartbreaking, the hard drive thing. And I think, and you say it's embarrassing. I feel like it's not, because everybody who deals with like digital media can relate to one degree or another, maybe not to that extreme of losing everything.
It's just the fact I erased it.
Yeah. But it is so easy to do. I've deleted important stuff too. Like I have old laptops with so many videos on them that nobody will ever get to see because I can't even plug the laptop in anymore. But it is so heartbreaking to hear, and I can't even imagine what that was like to go through.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, but it's so inspiring to hear that story and to see where you are now. Mm-hmm. What do you think gave you the, strength and the ability to get back into making music and to kind of rise out of that dark space?
Oh man. Okay, so story continued. I stopped making music for about two years, give or take. It was about 2015. Well, it was really 2016. There were things still happening in the interim that had to do with drums, like the whole Super Bowl thing with Beyonce.
Yes.
That had to do with drums. And the funny story is, like, the music director at the time ran into me at Chick-fil-A.
Wow.
And I didn't believe him at first. I was just like, he was like, yeah, I'm the MD for Beyonce, and I would love to just get your contact information so we stay in touch. And so I was just like, all right, maybe this guy might kill me. I don't know. But it's worth the risk. I'll give him, my number.
Yeah.
And so, like, in 2016, he finally reached out to me. And this was at a point where I was, like, down and out. I remember the day where I was pretty depressed. I was, like, laying on my floor, and at this point, wondering how I was going to pay rent. Because like I told you, I was just not making music.
Yeah.
And so I was like stressed about that, looking at my ceiling like, this is my life. All right, cool.
Yeah.
And my phone rings and he's like, hey, do you know who this is? And I was like, no. And
you're like, do you want to tell me who?
Yeah. He's like, you didn't say my number. You know that whole thing. I was like, no,
okay.
I wasn't really sure he was even the real guy.
Yeah, it's LA.
But he tells me, I need you to come to a studio like tomorrow and audition for this thing because the show itself is going to be in February. And I was like, okay, I'm remembering. He told me Beyonce. So either it's the Grammys or either it's the Super Bowl,
Mm-hmm.
And so I think after showing up there, I got wind that it was a Super Bowl.
Wow.
So that was still like one of those random like godsend happenstances.
Yeah.
That, I think God was still like looking out regardless of me being down and out. And even after that, I was still like, it was almost like that was a fun time. And then I went back into my dark little hole.
Yeah.
And then during that period, well, I guess after that period, I think it was like maybe December of 2016, I was just like looking at my life and what had come of it. And I prayed to God and I said that I was sorry for backing away from him and backing away from the gift. And that I wanted to make things right or do things the right way and clean up all of this mess. I think it was the next morning, I got a call from one of my friends in college who had gone on to be a musical director, and he was musical directing for an artist named Dea. And she has that song, Don't Let Me Down, Down, Down.
Yeah.
With the Chainsmokers. And so he reached out to me and asked me to go on tour. And I was like, okay, that's a good start for me to start cleaning up my life. So
Dope.
that was the way back in. That was how I got back into making music.
Yeah. Well, it's amazing hearing those ups and downs. And I think anybody that's like pursuing a creative dream out there, hearing that is going to be inspired. And I'm so grateful that you had those things that brought you back into the game, because now we get to see everything that you're doing now.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you sharing that. I wanted to talk about going viral. And I wanted to talk about one of your early viral videos. It might have been the first one, the 777-9311.
Yeah.
Which is a song that is sort of infamous among drummers, right?
Mm-hmm.
So could you share maybe just a little bit about A, why that song is infamous among drummers, and then B, how it came about that you played along with that song and made that video, and what kind of came of it?
Yeah. Well, the song itself, I believe it's like a Linn drum machine that's happening. And I don't even know the real story, but I think from what I remember about it is that the way that it's patterned was kind of a mistake. You know, like the dude got to, like, and they decided to keep it that way.
Yeah, because it's very off kilter.
Yeah, it's very unusual.
Yeah.
You know, and even now, like, it's a very like tricky like beat, you know.
Yes.
But there was like this conversation going on. I believe it was on both Facebook and Instagram at the time about, you know, the pattern not being possible to play amongst drummers because it's a drum machine, and two, it's just like very syncopated. And I think that's really how it was birthed. It was just like birthed from me like wanting to challenge myself to see if I could do it. I had seen Little John Roberts do it, who, you know, one of my favorite drummers. And so I decided to give it a try myself. And I decided to give it a try after a failed tour audition. I went to an audition and I didn't get the part mainly because I stayed in the pocket too much, which I thought was ridiculous. You know,
right?
Yeah.
Is it that's the point, right?
I thought that was the point. I was like, I don't think you guys get it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So even more, I was like very like frustrated with that, and frustrated with the idea that I was at a place of not knowing what I was going to do after getting off a tour. So I went to my little lockout, set up my iPhone 6, I believe, and put it on a lamp.
Nice.
And decided to put on my iPod headphones and play to it while on Spotify and sync it later.
Okay.
Or try to sync the audio later to the video, which I had a very big problem. There was just like a week of work trying to figure out how to do that. Like, I have a horrible relationship with technology.
Yeah, and audio sync in general is such a pain.
Yeah.
It's so complicated to get that exactly locked in. We struggle with that too in our videos.
Yeah, so I was struggling with that for a week, and I was using iMovie at the time.
Yes.
And I finally figured it out, and it was probably like 9 o'clock at night. I wasn't going to post it because I was like, I can't figure it out. I couldn't. So I posted it at 9 o'clock at night, went to sleep, woke up the next morning, and just saw that somehow, some way, it had gotten shared like so many different times. All I saw was like my face down my timeline.
Wow.
And I was just like, how did that happen? You know?
Yeah.
And it turned out that it was Bootsy Collins originally that saw the video, and it really took it off. Yeah.
That's amazing. Shout out to Bootsy too.
Bootsy baby.
Bootsy baby. Legendary. Okay, so what was that experience like for you the first time going viral?
Well, I think it just really opened some different possibilities again of like, okay, there seems to be a way for me to reinvent myself once again on social media, because I always had the intention to get back on, especially after leaving the whole music production major label scene. Even actually months before, I had the intention of getting back online, and I had this very grandiose intention to do so. Of like, I need multiple camera angles and smoke machines and lights and wardrobe. But it ended up being me propping up my phone on a lamp. That was the thing that went everywhere. And I think that was really surprising to me. And I was like, oh, well, that was easy. I'm just going to do it again.
Yeah.
You know? And I was like, what else do I feel like I can't play and all of that? And just decided to rinse and repeat and do the same thing over and over. And back then, I even went back to that video. To be real, first of all, it went viral on Facebook. It wasn't viral on Instagram yet. It was like kind of like a trickle effect that happened of like me realizing maybe I should post this on Instagram too, you know? So I posted it on Instagram and it did decent. Like it was like, and I go back to it now, the original video has like 8,000 likes.
Okay.
Which now is a bad performing video to me, you
Right.
know? So to put things in perspective, like it was, back to your original question, it was a new perspective, a new way for me to like look at things. You know,
Totally.
Possibilities.
Yeah, totally. Well, it's amazing and how far you've come, like you say, going back to that and seeing that it was like only 8,000 times on Instagram. And now, you know, your videos go crazy beyond that, which is awesome. I feel like a lot of musicians struggle with social media.
Yeah.
And you have been so successful building a brand on social that is, like I said in the intro, I just feel like it's so powerful. It's so recognizable. Every time your video comes up, it's like, boom, it has a look, it has a vibe. What do you think the factors are that have kind of contributed to you being so successful in this space of making videos?
Is there a time limit? Let me ask you that. Like,
Do you have a hard out?
No. I'm just asking you because I can talk a lot.
But I love it. That's what we're here for.
Okay, I'm just making sure. I don't want to like talk about one question the whole time and you're like, oh, wow.
No, not at all. This is great. This is what we're all about. So you are killing it.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't have a hard out. You know?
Cool.
So,
I don't
yeah.
either. I do kind of, but it's all right.
We normally talk
really,
for.
I'm okay. I'm good. Chase is over there, Zen.
Okay, yes, we'll get that. Just start waving your arms if we got to stop this.
No, okay.
We normally talk for about an
stalling.
hour. No, you're totally
I feel
fine.
self-conscious about talking a lot.
Not at all.
Because I normally don't talk a lot. I'm normally like the question asker. I'm someone who's just like low key and doesn't say a lot of words. So when I start talking a lot, I'm like, geez, I'm talking a lot.
No, but you're the pocket queen, and we're here to hear your story. So this is you're killing it.
Yeah.
And this is really valuable stuff. So I'm loving it. Yeah.
So what was your question? I'm sorry.
You've been so successful on socials. What's your approach to social media, or are there factors in your mind that have kind of contributed to you having success in that space?
Yeah, there's like a lot of things. Like it's a very big salad.
Yeah.
I would say that's come together. You know, like one being that I genuinely do love to play the drums. Like people think like the whole smiling thing is like a facade. It's just really like if you ask people who play with me, I can't help it, especially when I'm in the pocket, because you want to talk about flow state. Like, okay, that's my flow state. When I'm in the pocket and things are locking, like it just feels like I can't even control it. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So I think it's a mixture of that, people being very fascinated by the joy that I have when I play the drums. That's one. I also noticed my musical selections at a certain point in time, the songs that I chose to cover, in which they were, one, challenging sort of that sort of unicorn effect of like, oh, I didn't even know that people could really play that. That's a drum machine. And two, it's just the jams that people love back in the day that they're just like, oh, that song is sick. Like I used to jam that all the time. You know, who doesn't want that in their lives? So I took those two things and made them like very big pillars. Along with having good fashion sense, you know what I'm saying? You see it.
Yes.
Having good fashion sense.
Fire.
And
Fire. The fit is killing.
Let's just take them up. You know what I'm saying? Like, do you see
the shoes match the hat.
You know, coordinate.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Like, along with the fashion sense and what else would I say? I think I would just try to... Oh, this is a big one. Eye contact. People get on me about that all the time.
Really?
And I started doing that intentionally. Yes, I do that intentionally.
That's so true. It's so funny because I didn't actually identify that or notice that really.
Really?
That you're making direct eye contact with the camera, which is unusual.
Yeah, it is unusual.
Because normally, like drummers will close their eyes or be looking off at the corner somewhere.
Yeah, and I feel like there's something to letting the audience know, like, hey, I see you. You
Yes.
know, like acknowledging that they're there.
Big time.
And then also like putting emotions with the sounds that they can see. Like I grew up on music videos, so there's a big part of me that associates music and sound with visuals. So a lot of times when I would make a video, I would already plan in my mind what I'm wearing, what angle, and also like, you know, the feel of like what I want the audience to feel like, you know, like what would be a good moment for me to make eye contact, you know, like that stop in the song where I can look and go wink, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like make it entertaining, because that's what it really is. Like, it's social media. People are trying to like live vicariously, escape from their reality. So I was like, what is a reality that I can create for them that will be mesmerizing?
Yeah.
You know, those were like the main things I would say. And then any other ways that I saw that I could be of help and of service. You know, for a minute I was taking songs that needed more coverage, you know, like there were some songs that needed more love, you know. There's like the popular songs, but then there were artists that were just under the radar,
Right.
And I was offering my services to like cover their songs,
Dope.
so that it would get more attention.
Yeah.
And then another way of service that I saw was, of course I do loop packs now, which is like, you know, that's obvious.
Yep.
What else did I used to do? It's sad that I'm saying used to. I'm going to start doing this again. But I think mainly I just saw any areas that I could be helpful to people and try to make that a highlight in what I was doing, like trying to amplify other people.
Yes.
I was even saying, it's kind of funny. Before Reels came about on Instagram and TikTok and all of this, I was already doing like the remix videos. Like that was also another way in which I tried to make it collaborative and bring in a community so that it's not just me. It's like, I'm going to play this song and like you add the bass line, you do all of this. And so it allowed me to just like kick back and relax too, because I already put up the video and then someone else is going to repost it and repost it and repost it. And I'm like, I don't have to make content. Y'all are making content.
Exactly. You already did your part.
Exactly. I'm like, well, let me go ahead and sit back. All right?
Awesome. I love it. I love it. It reminds me like supposedly like Bernard Purdy would like kill the drum track on the first take. The other musicians would be like, oh, I think we need another take. And he'd be like, I did my part. I'm out.
Exactly.
Like the drums are perfect. You know,
Exactly.
I'm gone. But that's really fire. And it's cool to hear too about the intentionality behind what you make in terms of like, considering the fit. Like I do think your fashion sense is amazing and it's a huge part of the videos. And that's so cool. It's true. And it's so cool to hear. And yeah, the curation, the songs you pick, I mean, all of that really, really resonated with me. And I think most of all the joy, like you say, and it's a genuine joy. And I feel like people can tell, you know, if you were faking it or putting on a smile just, you know, for the views, people would feel that. I think it's very clear when you play that you love what you're doing and you're putting joy behind it, which is awesome.
I'm sorry.
No, please.
And that's also very, very, very important to me still.
Yeah.
I still to this day don't cover songs or do things that I don't genuinely feel a draw to, because I believe that's very real. And I can see it sometimes like that's even partially like I'm currently on a hiatus from social media currently. Yeah. And that's because I just genuinely don't want to do things that are not authentic. Like if I don't feel it, if I don't feel like I should be there right now, I'm not going to do it, because you guys are going to be able to tell that I don't want to be here. And so it's just going to be awkward for everyone. Totally. I'm just going to go sit down somewhere until I want to be here.
Yeah, I think that's, I mean, I applaud that, because I feel like some creators get stuck on the, you know, the hamster wheel, and they feel like they have to keep making stuff and, you know, they have to keep serving the audience. And especially recently, like I've been trying to figure out my healthy relationship with social media, because it is so addictive, and, you know, these algorithms show us exactly what we want to see all the time. And, you know, sometimes I'll pull my phone out and accidentally be in a social feed and feel like I've been on there for 10 minutes and look up and be like, wow, I've been on here for an hour. You know, I've lost an hour of my life, you know, hardly even noticing. So I kind of feel like that's one of the challenges we're all facing right now, right? Is figuring out like these are such amazing tools for artists and creators. We can use these platforms to promote ourselves and build audiences, which is incredible. But we also have to be mindful of how we're using these things and like, you know, like you say, not forcing it and figuring out what our relationship is.
Yeah, and it's so difficult with it, like, evolving before our eyes. Like, it seems like every year it's something different. That's at least what I've noticed. Like, I feel a little all this is making me feel a little old because like the first time I went viral, and this means a lot because back then you had to like repost it on your feed. Like, there was no story or anything like that. It was like these amount of people thought enough of what I did to put it on their like board of like,
on their actual grid.
Yeah, on their
that's
literal
crazy.
grid.
Yes,
you know,
that's
and
funny.
so that really means a lot in hindsight. Like it actually took effort. They had to download the repost app and everything.
Right. Yeah, there were like 5 steps to get that out. Yeah.
So as I've seen it grow over the years, there was a point where the numbers meant a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like it was crazy to have 100,000 likes on a video in 2018.
Totally.
That was like, oh, you're famous.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Now it seems like every 5 minutes there's a video that has like 100,000 likes. And so when I see that over and over, it makes me feel like, what is happening to this and what is the real value of numbers anymore? And why should I spend so much time worrying about numbers when it seems like they're accessible to everybody now?
Right. Totally. Yeah. Well, I think, you know, it's important to focus on the things that fill us up, right? And speaking of that, I really wanted to talk to you as well, because I know you've been making big moves, not just as a drummer, right, but also as a producer, songwriter, vocalist, and artist. Can you talk to us a little bit about the EP you've been working on?
Yeah, so I put out my first EP, self-produced EP in 2021, Groove Theory Volume 1, you know, because groove, you know?
Because groove.
This second one, shortly after I started the second EP, and it has been such a labor of love because it started as something that I wanted to make for people who were down, you know, because we were at a very low period in 2020, 2021, things were opening back up. And I wanted to make something that was joyful and express the joy that I have within. But also, it was something that also challenged me, something that took me out of my comfort zone and stretched me as a music producer to bounds that I didn't know that I possessed. So within that, I learned so many different lessons because this EP is like a full live music, string, horn, everything. It is like the birthing of my band, the Royal Flush. So it is all music that I wrote and had some friends help me in the process of production. Did some string arrangements, horn arrangements, and it's been a very collaborative process. I even have some artists that I greatly admire and look up to that I'm just so grateful that they're a part of this and decided to believe in the vision. So
amazing.
Yeah. Super
excited for that. Do you know when it's coming out?
We are slated to do the first single in September. Right?
Let's go.
That is correct. So
okay.
That's when it's premiering.
Amazing. Super stoked to hear that. You talked about kind of this project stretching you out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
Why do you think it's important for like musicians and creators in general to push ourselves and to get out of our comfort zone and do those things that maybe feel scary in the moment? Because even for me, like even doing these podcast interviews, like this is new for me, you know? We have like 10 episodes out or something like that.
Yeah.
So every time before I do this, I get nervous. I'm like, oh man, like I hope I do a good job, you know?
Does it ever feel conversational, like where it's like, oh, this is just like almost like a flow state? Do you feel like a flow state when at a certain point of like, oh, I'm in there. Like this feels like there's no cameras.
Yes, I will at times forget that there's cameras and fall into that flow state. And then that's beautiful. That's like blissful, you know? I love that.
I've been trying to find it. Like as we've been talking, I'm like, I want us to both be in like a flow state where we forget that there's cameras here.
Yes. I feel like we're there. We're almost there.
Yeah, because like me too. Like I feel like while we were sitting down, like there's always that awkward part of the interview of like who starts. And
Yes.
you start with the characters, and I'm like, oh, it was a little girl. So I'm like, but how can we make this more conversational, like we're real people? Like,
Yes. No, it's super important. And that's actually a really good reminder. So I appreciate that. But yeah, I get nervous for things, whatever, like big opportunities come up, I get in my head. And then I find that on the other side of those things, it's like, that's all the cool things I've done in my life has been because I was scared to do it and I showed up and did it anyway and pushed to the other side of it. So yeah, I mean, just, hearing you talk about how this project is pushing your comfort zone and stories of times when you've had to push through, like, why do you think it's important that we push through?
It is so that you can destroy fear, because it's all like an illusion. It's all this thing that's like keeping you in some sort of like square.
Yes.
But like you said, it's important because most of the beautiful things that I have discovered in life were on the opposite side of my fears.
Facts.
So I think it's a beautiful opportunity to discover more about you and like your purpose and what God has for you.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, it's so crazy because it can feel so uncomfortable in the moment to do something that, you're nervous for or scared of. Mm-hmm. And there's times too, like when we first went on tour 2 years ago, like before my first headlining show, where it was the first time I was doing like a fully improvised show, because I do this like freestyle improvised show where I'm like sourcing topics and words from the audience. And I just remember the first time before I did that, just being like, why do I do this? Like, why do I put myself in this situation where I'm just like backstage? I was like just crushed by this nervous feeling, almost where it's like, oh, am I going to faint? Like, do I need more water? Do I need to eat something? Like, why am I doing this? Like, why am I subjecting myself to this level of performance anxiety and fear?
And what was your answer?
I didn't come up with an answer. I just went out and did the show.
You were like, anyway.
Yeah, I was like, well, okay, this is a crazy feeling I'm feeling, but the people are here and they paid to be here and I'm not going to not do the show, right? So I did the show and it was great. And then afterwards, it's like, oh, that was amazing, and you get to the other side and you look back and you're able to say, like, that was so worth it. But it's just such a weird thing to be in the moments beforehand where you're experiencing all that discomfort.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like I have to remind myself that it's almost like I have to write down the times that I felt that way and then what the result was. Because all the best results, I feel like, come from having that feeling and then not letting it stop you.
Yeah. Do you remember when it went away for you? Like the feeling of like was it like after you started the show?
Yeah. Probably like 10 minutes into the show. And it starts flowing and I'm like, okay, like it's not, because it's never as crazy as what you make it up to be in your mind. Mm-hmm. And then it's always like all the training that we do like over our lifetime, is there to serve us in those moments.
Yeah, it's not like you're going to be bad.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Because in my head, I'm like, everyone's going to hate it. Like, I'm going to walk out of this immediately going to be
throw
like,
tomatoes at you in real time, endless tomatoes, and leave.
Endless tomatoes. Yeah. Like, how did you get so many tomatoes? Why did they let you bring all the tomatoes into this venue? This is ridiculous. You guys went into the kitchen and stole the tomatoes. No, it's so real. It's so real.
Well, yeah, I personally definitely resonate with that because I, to this day, struggle with stage fright. It is partially why I haven't played a show yet, like my own live show. Right. But the reason why I even asked you that is like what gets you out of it is like the way that I try to be logical about it is that ultimately people are there to see the performer, but they're not there for the performer. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I try to not make it about me as much as I possibly can. Because I realize that the root of self-consciousness is self. Like self-indulgence, like just being worried about self. So the more that you can take your thoughts outside of yourself and everyone like being concerned with you, then it yields to not being as nervous.
100%. Yeah, it's so real. It's almost like nervousness is, in a way, and I don't want to like make people feel bad who feel nervous because it is a very real like physiological experience. Absolutely. But in a way, it is a selfish emotion almost,
Absolutely.
because it's like, oh, me. Like, why am I scared? Because I want to look good. Like, my ego wants people to like me.
Yeah.
I don't want to go out on stage and have people not like me.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm so scared of. It's like, I just desperately want to be liked. And I do feel like, yeah, if you can shift that paradigm to be more so, you know, I'm here to provide a service, you know, like I'm here to make people happy. Hopefully, you know, or do what I can to try to lift people up and to try to be of service to the moment. And it's not about me.
Yeah.
You can almost kind of like turn it outward to the people. I do think that's such a helpful frame.
Absolutely. We're all there for a greater purpose. We're all there to like channel God energy and be able to communicate with one another. I think that is really the culprit of music and why people go to concerts anyway.
Yeah.
Is so that they can all connect. You're just like bringing the sounds so that they can do that. You
Yes.
know? So yeah, that's usually my way of looking at it. And what was I gonna say?
You said it, I think.
Yeah, but I was gonna say something else.
It's going to come to you as soon as we stop recording.
I know. Wait. Okay, never mind. I don't know.
You're good. It'll come to you, I'm sure, as soon as we stop. But I have one more question too, at least one more, because I really resonated with your vlog where you were talking about touring and how difficult it can be to maintain healthy routines and habits on tour. I am somebody who loves being at home, and I benefit so much from routine. I journal in the morning. I've been like meditating for the last 5 or 6 years as part of my routine. And so I so related with that, because as enriching as it can be to go on tour and do shows and have all these life-affirming experiences, it's so unnatural, I feel like, to be stripped out of your daily routine and to then be from one flight to the next in different time zones and doing the show. And it's like this crazy adrenaline-fueled existence, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nuts. And it's hard on the mind. It's hard on the body. Like it's and if for those listening who are not musicians and have never done it, it's almost like you could never explain to somebody what it really feels like. Yeah. Have you found any strategies, routines? Like, selfishly, I want to know, because I'm trying to figure it out, in terms of having any semblance of groundedness when you're out on the road.
No.
Yep.
That's why I don't do it.
Yeah.
You know,
Facts.
I need that in my life. And even when it comes to me planning out my artist career and other things, I want to create a career that allows sustainability and for me to enjoy, or I guess to still enjoy those aspects of stability in my life.
Yeah.
Because honestly, I think, sure, like if you're Rihanna or somebody, you can like, you know, you're staying at the Ritz-Carlton, you can like have like certain parameters that make it very comfortable, but it's still like you're waking up and you're in a different time zone.
Oh, that's the worst
You're
part.
away from your family and they're asleep at 12 p.m. and they're awake when it's 2 a.m. for you.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I don't know if it's not normal. It's just not a normal thing. It's just really not.
It's not. Touring is like the most unnatural experience ever. It's insane.
It's crazy.
And then you hear about people in like rock bands that toured for like 20 years. And I'm like, what is like, how does your body still work? Like,
yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure there are ways. Like, you know, look at Lenny Kravitz. That guy looks like he's 12 and he's 60.
Yeah, he looks amazing.
He's doing something right. So there's a way to do it. I just haven't found it. He doesn't look 12. I'm just joking.
Cue the picture of Lenny Kravitz, AI, 12-year-old.
But I'm pretty sure there's a way to do it. I just personally wasn't able to really find it. The best thing that I can say is like, this is my 6 months sober.
Wow.
This is my 6 months sober this year.
Congrats.
Thank you. And it was partially like part of my reason that I started drinking was social anxiety.
Yeah.
And it was because of like, you know, I guess even trying to manage my depression, being away from home, being away from loved ones and not having stability. So I even found on tour the way I would cope with that is having a glass of wine.
Yeah.
Like having all of these different things. And so since it's rather new for me, you know what I'm saying? Like being away from alcohol and all of that, I've decided to just like not do it for a minute. To not tour. But I would say overall touring, alcohol, I would say lay off of that if you're going to do it.
For sure.
Because it just disorients you. It's not really great for you. So try and have a healthy diet as much as you can, even though you might land in Australia and it's 3 o'clock in the morning. Your body thinks it's 3 o'clock in the morning, so you're eating breakfast at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
You know,
Crazy.
Just try your best. That's all I can really say.
Like, good luck. Good luck.
That's all it really is.
No, facts. It's insanity. It's absolute insanity. No, but that's amazing. I am also sober and have been for a few years now, and it's the same thing. Like I have social anxiety, and so being around strangers, like meeting people, the problem with alcohol is that it's like it works really well for that.
It does.
It's like very effective.
Or I don't know. Now it makes me question what I really looked like.
right.
When I was like tipsy, I was like, was I just like laughing at my own jokes? And everybody was just like, who's this? You know?
You were probably. I mean, no. You were probably having great conversations, and I don't know. I feel like I could be the life of the party kind of because of alcohol, which is tough because it's like it was fun and like it did help me in some ways socially. But then it got to a point where I just wasn't good at controlling it. And it got to a point where it just made me feel, I've always felt anxious the next day.
Yeah, or I feel like you need it. You know, like at least I felt like during a certain point, like even with touring, if I felt like really nervous, I was like, can someone get me a glass of wine?
Yes.
Like, that was like on my rider.
Yeah.
You know? So I was like, any time where it's turning into that, then there's some things to address.
100%. Yeah. And getting on stage too, like, the nerves, everything we were talking about that crushing feeling. I mean, part of the reason it was so intense for me before that first improvised show I was talking about like 2.5 years ago is because that was basically my first time as an adult going on stage without having a couple drinks. And I was like, there was a point where I wouldn't have even thought that was possible. Yeah. As that sounds kind of like dark or whatever, but I really was just like, oh yeah, I like have a beer or two at least to just feel calm, relaxed. Yeah. It like quells those voices. I can go out there and be confident. And again, like it works well, but I mean, there's just a diminishing returns. And if it's something you need, then it becomes a crutch. And so it's like, yeah, I had to cut it out totally. I stopped doing it at the beginning of COVID because I was like, we're all going to be home. It's going to be a weird time. There's going to be a lot of loneliness. Like, I just felt like it's not going to be good if I'm doing this, like, while I'm at home.
I think I remember what I was going to say.
Yes.
That thing earlier.
I told you it would come back. All right, what is it?
I think the way that I also address fears is, like, doing the worst case scenario in my head. You know, like literally drawing down the arrows of like this idea that I have, what will happen if I bomb a show. Yeah. You know, so I'll be like, okay, I'm so afraid that I'm going to go out there and I'm going to bomb the show. Okay, then what? If you bomb it, let's say, okay, you bomb it, then what? Right. Then I'm going to be embarrassed. Okay, and then what? And then I'm going to learn what to do next time. Yeah. Okay, and then what? I'm going to go home and go to sleep. Okay, and then what? I'm going to try again tomorrow and have new information. Yes. And I'm like, is that really that bad? Like what I was thinking? Like even the worst case scenario to me, is that actually that bad? Right. No. And so I was like, oh, we've dismantled the monster. Yes. You know? Huge. So powerful. Yeah, it's true. Because in your head, it's like, oh, and then everyone's going to die. Exactly. It's like at no point. No one will even remember. That's the thing about it. It's like half the time, no one remembers failures. Exactly. Ever. And they're not paying that much attention to you. There's like this illusion that everybody is so focused on me. Exactly. And it's like, no, I'm focused on me. Like, they don't even know you messed up. Exactly. Like they're like, we're just here trying to, you know. Yeah. Oh, it was great. It was great. Like how many times have I felt like I did bad and then afterwards everyone's like, oh, it was dope. It was great. You killed it. You know? Yeah. So it's like, I'm not even a good judge of how well I did half the time.
And yeah, worst case scenario, I mean, it is important to remind yourself, as absurd as it sounds, it's like if I release the wackest song ever tomorrow, nobody would be physically harmed.
No one will be harmed.
Nobody
Everyone
would
will
die.
still go home to their families
Yeah.
and wake up the next day.
Exactly.
And you will too, and you'll just put out more songs.
Exactly. It's not the be all and end all. Oh, man. So important to remember these things.
Yeah.
Yes. Pocket Queen, you are amazing.
You're amazing, Harry.
Hey, thank you. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast and having this conversation. I really feel like it's going to inspire a lot of people to hear about your story and your journey and hear some of your perspectives. And I just really, really appreciate it.
Thank you. And I want to, I should talk about this because I've been talking about it on Threads for a second. I feel like I can rap.
Hell yeah.
I can rap, but I just ain't got the words.
Oh, well, yeah, because you're a drummer, so
Yeah.
you can rap.
I got like flows that are like crazy ideas. Like, I can't do them right now because I'm on the spot. But I'm saying
Right.
I got like the flows and I can just like do the gibberish.
Yes.
And then like you could just install some words.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We could have that working relationship for sure.
Exactly.
You do the flow, send it over. I'll add the words.
Exactly.
Give it back to you. You record it. Boom.
I'm telling you, like it's getting closer and closer to being real.
I'm super down. And I will say that because I'm a drummer, that's where all the flows come. Like drummers are all rappers.
Yeah.
Minus the words. And then it's just like you could learn the word part very easily.
I don't know. My words are crazy bad.
No, you just shared a lot of words. They were good.
Yeah, but they don't rhyme. And then my rhymes are just like really like elementary.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's where it starts. If you prioritized it, year or two maybe, you'd have the words.
Yeah, that's so nerve-wracking. The fact that you do that. Like that you come up with words in real time. You're like, microphone, off the dome,
Hey!
blue chrome. Like that don't even make no sense though. Like that's what I'm saying.
Blue Chrome, baby! Blue Chrome, the new album coming soon. That's fire. Hell yeah. Well, speaking of, we got a kit set up. We got a mic set up. Should we jam out a little
Let's
bit?
go.
Let's go. Hell yeah. Yeah. Come on. Yeah. Yeah. Check the way that we lock it in. Thinking about the ghosts, they probably thought of them. The two combined with the true flows. Mack locked in with the Pocket Queen to form the rhythmic duo. We earning props and kudos. We take it to a new plane. Improvising so swift, they figured he had two brains. Improvise, find a new lane. I got him shifting over. Yeah, few years now, the kid's been sober. So now I got my focus. Used to feel it was hopeless. I composed this magnum opus, quickly do it so swift. We never sleeping, yo, we lock into the groove. When I'm rhyming off top, I'ma make your body move, yeah. Hey yo, the instrumental, something we have fun with. I spit so rhythmic, would've thought I was holding drumsticks. Yeah, I come with the flyest rap. Pocket Queen looks in the camera with the eye contact. We give it direct to the audience, all intentional. I don't ever write it down, I let my mental flow. It's essential, I lock in on instrumentals. I've ordered my thoughts in a way that's sequential. From the A to the B to the C, in order we proceed. I got all the lyrics that the audience gon' need. Back once again, the one that they hearing. I rhyme tight and shine bright like Pocket Queen's earring. Shoot my shot, it's landing in the hoop. Rappers be investing, but they can't ever recruit. These lyrics, they fly out my face, son. Dropping low, something like a bass drum, I'm rare. I get the scene cracking like a snare. Turn it tighter when I spit the clean flows. Yeah, get it popping like a drum head from remote. We back up in it, I lay them flat like the carpet. My lyrics hitting the target, the freestyle, I gotta spark it. We be the #1 artist, lyrics are vital. Posting the vid and we go revival. Yeah, we got them in the downward spiral. We getting it cracking non-stop, had to have the conversation. Now we do the videos for improvised music domination. We taking it further, we up in here. Look in the mirror, out the comfort zone. We about to push through the fear. Yeah, I blow your mind with a verse when I'm rapping. When we get nervous, we consider what's the worst that could happen. Listen, nobody's about to get hurt, not by this verse. So I might as well step on the stage, let it disperse. Rewind back to church. See, you didn't start crying when I was 7 years old. That rule wasn't applying. Couldn't even get on stage with my violin. Now look, we coming with the rhymes that's about to leave the game shook.
We pushing past the fear, doing lyrics off the dome. Every day I'm trying to stretch outside of my comfort zone, boosting your heart rate, heart coming out of me, and I'm proud to be in this new position. I'm making people listen, causing collision. Every time I rep on my division, lyrics be hitting like the pocket. And when it comes to freestyles off of the mantle, the people really can't stop it. Down to the millisecond pocket grooves, we put it where it's supposed to be. These rappers never getting close to me. I'm explosive, I rhyme too ferociously. Yeah, pop up on the stream and they gon' notice me. It's like that.
That's incredible. That's insane.
The pocket queen. The pocket queen. Let's go.
Mack.